If you are looking to move to the Kansas City area in 2025, well, this is your chance to grab your pen and notepad because this is your ultimate relocation guide. Now, moving to a new city can be overwhelming, and I'm sure if you're anything like me, you're going to have a ton of questions. So I want to make sure that you have most of those answered by the time that you finish this video. Questions like, is Kansas City a great place to live? Are the schools great? Is it safe? How's the traffic? And how is my commute from one area of the city to the other? How far is the airport from certain cities? And how is my commute from one area of the city to the other? How far is the airport from certain cities? All these questions can come about, and you're probably saying, how did she know I had these questions? Well, I've lived in the metro area for most of my adult life, and I get questions like this all the time. Now, while we're going through this video and I'm talking to you about relocating to Kansas City, there are some key things that you will want to know. The first thing is the fact that geographically, our city is one of the few cities in the United States that sits on the state line of two states. One is Kansas and one is Missouri. And there's actually even a street that's called State Line Road. And when you walk across the street, you're in one state. When you go the other way, you're in another state. And that spans most of the southern part of the Kansas City metropolitan area. So I have experience with both sides. And the unique thing about our family was we didn't have really any ties to one specific area or the other when it comes to where to live. And so from my specific case, we were not bound by any certain area of the city. So I hope that my information is very objective and it helps you to determine where to live, where not to live, or what's good for your family so that you can make a well-informed decision. So be sure and subscribe to my channel because I continually put out videos about the Kansas City area in hopes to educate people like yourself on our amazing city. And if we've never met before, my name is 𝗚𝗂𝗶𝗲𝗏 and I am a licensed real estate agent both in Kansas and Missouri. I'm also a team lead of the Yellow Brick Group, and my team helps people just like you buy, sell, relocate, and invest right here in our amazing city. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. In fact, I've made it really easy. My contact information is in the description below, as well as there's a link that goes right to my calendar. So if you're ready to have a video consultation with me, just click on that link and schedule it, and we can have a video conference call, and I can help you meet your real estate goals. I know that this is a really big decision for you, and I know that there are a lot of things going on, especially if you are looking to relocate to the Kansas City area, and I don't take those big decisions lightly. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is it better to live on the Missouri side or is it better to live on the Kansas side? And I actually recently did a video comparing the two states. So if you want to check out that video, go onto my YouTube channel, and also too, there will be a link in this description below so that you can watch that video and maybe get a little bit more informed with what side of the state line to live on when you are relocating here. So my goal today is to really help you shake some of those questions out and to really be comfortable with some of the decisions that you make if you are relocating here to our amazing city. And with that being said, I hope this video gives you a ton of value, and if it does, I would love a thumbs up on this video, and please subscribe to my channel and click that bell so that you can be the first to learn when I post another video about Kansas City. So the first question that I want to tackle is, why Kansas City? So I want to make sure that you know that Kansas City has become very, very popular in the most recent years when it comes to travel as well as purchasing property. It's exploding, and there's even documented news articles that show that on a yearly basis, there's around 30 million people who come here to just visit Kansas City, and they spend almost $4 billion a year in just coming here and enjoying our city. Then they come here, they visit it, love it, and decide, look, I'm going to move here or just invest in real estate here. From the low cost of living to all of the amazing things that we can do and the lifestyle that Kansas City has, it's no wonder that our city is growing. And what's really funny is that most people don't even know the truth about Kansas City. When I go out and travel and people ask me where I'm from, I usually in general say Kansas City. Most of the time people will just in general say Kansas City, but what that means is that there are actually two Kansas Cities. There's one Kansas City, Missouri, and then there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and then the suburbs stretch from outside of that. When people describe where they're from, they just use Kansas City as an overall compass for the entire metro area. Another thing that happens when I travel is that people when they hear that I'm from Kansas City, think that our city is just flat, that there's nothing here, and I'm surrounded by wheat fields. Another thing is that people think that every time it rains, then there's tornadoes. These are all myths. Kansas City is beautiful. It has rolling hills. There are 14 lake communities. While some of them are smaller and that you don't get necessarily the resort style of lifestyle, there's 12 of them that really have resort style lifestyle in them. Some of them you can water ski, fish, and do all kinds of things. There's just such a lifestyle here when it comes to just the lake communities alone. So if you come from some other community where you just absolutely want the water, we have those kinds of communities for you as well. But then we also have other things. We are rich in history, including the Jazz District. And in fact, this year we are opening up a barbecue museum. I mean, literally a barbecue museum. There's all kinds of parks, there's lakes, bike trails. In fact, I've done several videos on the reality of neighborhoods that specialize in walking trails within them. We just have a really diverse community here. There's lifestyle for just about everybody. I tell people that Kansas City still has that small DNA, but we also have big city amenities. In fact, did you know that Kansas City was ranked in multiple magazines as one of the top places to visit? Kansas City is now staking a claim as a global leader in sports. In fact, both publications listed the new 𝗥𝗶𝗶𝗄𝗏 sports stadium. That's the first in the world that specifically is for women's pro sports. And when it comes to travel, we have the Casey streetcar, and don't miss the Rock Island Bridge that's coming. It's a reclaimed rail crossing. It's over the Kansas River, very close to the downtown area. And visitors will be able to enjoy 2 levels of entertainment with food from 2 restaurants and 3 bars, plus a covered event space with a dance floor and open veranda seating overlooking the city and the river. Now let's talk about the cost of living. I know that I've mentioned that before, but when people relocate here, they are absolutely amazed at how affordable our homes are. And I know that home prices across the country are rising, but Kansas City ranks still among the cities that is the lowest barrier to home ownership. It also has a more favorable median household income, and that's comparably speaking to the median price of the homes. I know that the numbers will change depending on where you live in the city. There are certain pockets of Kansas City that have a medium price range that's a little bit higher. For instance, Leawood, Kansas is one of the more expensive cities in the area, comparably speaking to, say, a property that's purchased in Blue Springs, Missouri. So there are certain aspects to the city that have medium price ranges anywhere between $300,000 all the way up to $600,000 or $700,000 price point. So the next thing I want to cover is just the general geographic layout of the Kansas City metropolitan area. And I know that I've mentioned that our city sits right on the state line of Kansas and Missouri. But the reality of it is people don't always fully understand we are not right smack dab centrally located. Most of the properties in the Kansas City area are on the Missouri side. We've got 2 main counties that are covering the Kansas side. That's Wyandotte County and Johnson County. Johnson County is where more of the wealth is, and the farther south that you go, you're going to get brand new build jobs, and you're going to see that the houses get a little bit bigger and the houses get newer, and there's a spread, especially in Overland Park. And in fact, I've done several videos on Overland Park in and of itself. It's the largest city in Johnson County over on the Kansas side, and it covers a huge area of our city. It spans a lot of miles, and so you'll want to just understand Overland Park. Leawood, which I mentioned earlier, sits adjacent to it, and it smacks dab right next to the Missouri border. The Kansas City, Missouri city in and of itself is bigger, and it covers the downtown area, Crown Center Plaza, Waldo, and all that south area of the Johnson County. And then there's actually North Kansas City, Missouri. And so that whole city is a very large area, and it covers all kinds of different styles of properties. If you are to cover the Overland Park, Kansas area, it's got its own little DNA, but Kansas City, Missouri, I feel like it has multiple DNA DNAs. You've got properties that are near the downtown area that you can literally purchase for $30,000 or $40,000, but then just about 3 miles down the road, you can purchase a property that's $3 or $4 million. So you'll want to understand those certain pockets of where you want to be at and the dynamics of each one of the areas, especially the suburbs and how it lays out with our city. When you are purchasing or moving to the metropolitan area, you're going to want to look at your specific lifestyle and determine where it would be the best place to live and to move your family. So for instance, if you are single and you have no children, you're going to want to probably consider different location, and you want to live in like a condo or a townhome style property, then the downtown will be a great place for you to consider. In fact, I've actually done another video, all things that you will love about the downtown area versus property that you might have kids that want to play sports. Overland Park is known as the soccer capital, and so if you've got a kiddo that is heavily into soccer, you might want to move into that direction or even into the Lee Summit, Missouri area. Those are really key questions that I like to ask my clients. What exactly do people like? What exactly do they want? Say for instance, if you're in the arts and you love museums and you want to visit various locations or volunteer at some of these art communities, you might want to consider living in more of the downtown area or someplace closer to Crown Center. If you are more of a suburban type of a person where you have a boat and you want to experience some of the lake style or lake communities, or even just go to one of the public lakes, then the downtown probably would not be for you. Now, I know that I mentioned earlier that we kind of have that small town DNA, but the reality of it is our population is about 2.2 million people. Now, when we're talking about the lifestyle and the amount of people that live here, let's talk about the median age of our city and some of the dynamics that go into that. The median age in the southern Kansas City area, especially on the Missouri side, gets a little bit older, especially when you go into the Cass County community. The median age is 40 versus just the next city over in Belton is 33. Gladstone median age is 41. Blue Springs is 35. Lee Summit is about 39. Overland Park is 39. Lenexa and Shawnee, Kansas all are about 39. Olathe is a little bit younger at about 35. Basehor is 36. Kansas City, Missouri is 35. And then Kansas City, Kansas is actually a little bit younger at 33. And then Tonganoxie is 33. Then we've got Oak Grove and Green Valley on the Missouri side. That's also 33. And Mission Hills is about 49 to 50. Now, I will say this, when it comes to drive time, a lot of the suburbs take about 35 to 45 minutes to get to the airport. So if you are a business traveler or you like to be closer to the airport, you'll want to probably live either near the downtown area, or if you are traveling and you have family, you might want to consider Parkville and North Kansas City. In fact, I've also done a video about Parkville. It is an amazing city to live in, and it's north of the river and in great schools as well. Now, when it comes to the cost of living, this is such a positive conversation to have. In fact, the last time that I read a detailed description of the cost of living in the Kansas City area, we are about 2.5% below the national average when it comes to the cost of living. In fact, according to realityhop.com, we have one of the lowest barriers to home ownership across the nation. And according to rentcafe.com, Kansas City, Missouri and Overland Park, Kansas both landed in the top 10 cities for renters to watch in this year. Both highly in demand markets for the region's affordable cost of living and as well job opportunities. And when I say job opportunities, we have some really big companies coming like Google and Meta. Those are just examples of some job opportunities that are coming to the area. Then also too, if you go to payscale.com and look up the cost of living calculator in Missouri, then this chart will come and it will show you the pay scale, and it will break out down to every single category, the cost of living. And if you look at that, comparably speaking to where you're from, you'll be able to compare and see how your lifestyle right now works versus where it will need to be at or where it could be if you relocated to Kansas City. And also too, if you want to compare your salary based upon where you're at and what you need to make to have basically the same lifestyle, if you run a Google search for the Forbes calculator, this calculator is awesome and is something that I love giving my clients that link to, because when you're moving to, say, you know, the Kansas City area from another area and you have a certain lifestyle, you can plug the information in there and see what your salary needs to be at compared to what it is now. But the overall cost of living here in Kansas City is dynamically less than the national average. Now, at the time of this recording, the median sales price across the United States was about $410,000, but the median sales price in Kansas City is about $315,000. The average sales price, from my experience, is really what most people will spend when they purchase a home. The average sales price around the United States is roughly around $450,000, but here in Kansas City, this is just shy of $400,000, so it's still less when you come from a median sales price or an average sales price across the United States. And Kansas City is really a dynamic place because you can get the same house here for a lot less than if you were to go and purchase it somewhere else in the United States. And the reality of it is, you can also get luxury properties here. Even though the average sales price is just around $400,000, it's still an amazing city because there are some luxury properties that you can purchase all the way up to $6 million here in the area. Even though we have like a wide span of properties that you can find in the Kansas City area, there's a dynamic and a fluidity. You know, there's certain pockets that are great and very high rated schools, like for instance, Blue Springs, Missouri. Blue Springs, Missouri is one of the top ranking schools in the entire metro area, as well as the whole state of Missouri. And it's also ranked as one of the best places for teachers to work. And what's really unique about Blue Springs is that while they don't have any luxury communities, it's such an affordable place to live, and yet you have high ranking schools. A lot of people love it, and you have great and affordable homes that you can live in. But if you're gonna look at overall in the whole city, if you're gonna move to Overland Park, then the average sales price is gonna be a little bit higher, about $435,000. And if you're looking at Lenexa, it's going to be about $465,000. Lee Summit is one of the most popular suburbs in all of Kansas City, is a little bit less than $400,000, about $390,000. So when it comes to housing, just make sure that you do your homework and don't hesitate to reach out to me, because I've got videos that I can send to you that might explain things, or if you continue to watch this channel, if you have any questions about a certain area that you can't find a video about, be sure and comment on it, because a lot of my commenters and viewers will suggest that I do videos about certain things, and so I would love to help you out and do a video. Now, one thing that's really interesting about our city and the styles of the homes is that you can get a brand new construction home as well as really old, century-old properties. So we have like a gamut of all kinds of diverse styles. Now, when it comes to education and the entire Kansas City metropolitan area, I just want to say that we have an extreme amount of diversity here in our school system. And so if you are looking to be in a specific school district, you'll want to make sure that you go onto that school district website and even contact them to see if the boundaries are going to be changing, because there are some school districts that are working right now to change their school boundaries. Park Hill School District is one of them. But to find the rankings of the school districts, just go to greatschools.org. You'll be able to put your school district in there, or even the city, and see the rankings that are on that website and be able to compare it to maybe where you are coming from and look at some of the rankings, comparably speaking, just to see where you fall into the school districts. Now, when it comes to the variety of school districts from K through 12, there are public schools, we've got private schools, charter schools, as well as magnet and technical schools even. So with all that being said, we have a lot of options when it comes to schools outside of the public school system. Now, if you are headed into the public school system, there are some definite high-ranking schools that I want to mention. In the area, there's Mill Valley High School, which is one of the highest ranking schools on greatschools.org in the entire metro area. Other notable ones are Olathe Northwest, Grain Valley, Blue Springs, Lee Summit West, Park Hill South, both Blue Valley High Schools, and then there's the Baser Linwood High. These are all public school districts, but there's also private schools that also can be ranked on greatschools.org, but if you want to look at those, you'll be able to find some private schools in there as well. Let's move on to the major universities that are in the Kansas City metro area. We have the University of Missouri, the University of Kansas, Rockhurst University, Avila University, Park University, and the Kansas City Art Institute. We also have William Jewell, University of St. Mary's, Mid-American Nazarene University, and there's also some two-year colleges in the area as well that are top-notch and top-rated that you won't want to necessarily bypass if your child is wanting to consider one of those options as well. Now, if you are still trying to consider what school district to put your child in, I would consider going to two things. One, obviously reading all of the reviews online and just making sure that you understand the ratings, but also the other suggestion is to go online and start joining some of these Facebook groups that are in those communities and start asking questions with other parents that have their child going to that, because there will always be somebody who loves the school and there will always be somebody who does not like those schools. But if you can get a well-rounded opinion of those, it's always good to consider doing that. Then also too, I want to just make sure that I mention homeschooling. We have a great homeschooling community here in Kansas City, and the reason why I mention that is I myself and my husband, we homeschooled for 10 years. And when my child, my youngest kid, about going to a technical school, when he was about the 8th grade, we decided that it was time to go ahead and put him into a more established community. And so I put him into Summit Christian Academy, which is in Lee Summit, and we positioned him and got him going in math, and the teaching there was great, and therefore they were able to really thrive even more. So I just wanted to share that with you, that I've got that experience as well, and the homeschool community here in our city is top-notch. Now I want to talk about the lifestyle here in Kansas City and the activities. We have so many things that are at your disposal. You would be surprised, because if there's people who live in beach towns or they live in maybe an entertainment town, while those cities have their own special DNA, I will tell you that Kansas City also has its own special DNA. If you have a child who is into sports, you will have a very high probability of finding a great opportunity for them. We have Overland Park, which has got soccer, and we've got ice skating rinks, softball, and club ball. In fact, my daughter has been in Kansas City and grew up playing softball, and now she's a pitcher at a university. There's a lot of great top-notch trainers that will help with the lifestyle of children who are wanting to excel in sports, even in gymnastics, which is also amazing, because we've got several people who were training here in Kansas City with gymnastics that actually got really far in trying to get qualified for the Olympics. Oh, and let's not mention hockey either. We've got hockey. I mean, literally, we've got all kinds of things to do here, and bored will never come out of your family's mouth, I promise. And if it does, then come to this YouTube channel and I will show you all kinds of things to do here. Then we've got sports related teams. Obviously, you've heard of the Chiefs. We've got Royals. We've got professional sports teams like the Mavericks, and we've got the women's soccer. There's always something active that you can do, and including riding and biking, just walking. We've got the Katy Trail, just all these different opportunities and activities that are right around Kansas City. Whether you're indoors or whether you're wanting to be an outdoor family, there's something for you here. And the lifestyle is one main reason why a lot of people call Kansas City home. Now let's talk about the weather. When I talk about the weather, I'm going to definitely tell you that you will see all 4 seasons here in Kansas City. Some years, we may just have 1 snowfall. Then other years, you might see 10. In the fall, you're going to see a beautiful cascade of lovely leaves, where all these trees are going to change colors and the leaves are going to drop, and it's just going to be so beautiful. In fact, there are parks that are well known here in Kansas City for photographers to go and shoot. A lot of people will go out and get their family photos at fall because it's just so beautiful. There is certainly vibe when it comes to fall here in the Kansas City area. In fact, fall is my favorite season. Now, springtime is beautiful as well. You've got flowers blooming, you've got the trees budding, and there's this fresh sense of excitement that comes here in the area. And talking about summer, summer is also amazing. It does get hot. It can get up to over 100 degrees here. So if you like heat and you're coming from a hot city, summertime, you're gonna feel right at home. But it's certainly not those temperatures that I necessarily enjoy being outside in for a super long period of time. But my daughter played softball, and I've had plenty of room and experience with being out in the sun in the summertime. But what's really cool is these lake communities. One of the lakes, called Lake 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗶𝗲, is the largest rental facility for pontoon boats that is in across the metropolitan area. So while we are only 3 hours away from the Ozarks and Branson, you don't have to go there to experience fun in the sun. Now, of course, we do have tornadoes. We have a tornado season, and we are in what's called the tornado belt. And when springtime comes, the tornado season is usually around the April to May time frame. And that is one of the reasons why most of the homes have basements, so that people can go into the basement when the tornado sirens go off and feel safe and be safe. But when it comes to weather, there are popular memes that are all around Kansas City, especially in the springtime when things get changed up. But there's this saying that says, if you don't like the weather, then just wait 15 minutes, because Kansas City will change in its weather, and it will only take about 15 minutes. With all that being said, there are a lot of pros and cons to living here in Kansas City, just like there's a lot of pros and cons to living in other areas as well. I mean, obviously, it's affordable here. You'll get all 4 seasons. There's lots of things to do. The neighborhoods are great. The school districts are great. But there's also some cons as well. One of those cons is there is a perception about living on one side of the state line versus the other. So people here in the Missouri side sometimes will say, I will never live on the Kansas side. And then Kansas people will say the exact thing. I will never live on the Missouri side. And it's this perception of people of the other side of the state line. I don't really know where that came from, but it is one of those things, and yet it's not true. I have friends that live on both sides of the state line, and everyone who I meet is wonderful. But if you want to talk more about that and the dynamics of it, feel free to reach out, because we can have some more detailed conversations about that. Don't forget, there's a link in my calendar with my contact information, and that link goes right to my calendar where you can just click on it and pick a convenient time that's right for you to talk about your real estate goals and to relocate. I hope this general relocation guide on Kansas City helped you to formulate some opinions about our city. It is wonderful, and I love living here. The people are all so great and all so down to earth. The people here are what makes me enjoy calling Kansas City home, and I am confident that it will make you feel the same way. I hope this video helped with answering your questions. I look forward to talking with you soon. And as always, go out and live your best Kansas City life.